So you guys probably don't need me to tell you how important a wrestling gimmick is. Well, today we got a video that is 20 wrestling gimmicks that got weird ripoffs. That's right. If you guys like to support the original uploader of the content, please click the top link in the description. If you want to react to content with me and the flock over on Twitch, use that bottom link. We also have a Patreon with a free tier that lets you get bonus content that we can't upload to YouTube. No, you won't be seeing ghost movies. Don't ask. Without further ado, let's get started.
Wrestling has had its fair share of seriously weird gimmick rip-offs and, tributes over the years. Some have been more blatant than others, and a few were even rubber-stamped by WWE itself. Stars as big as Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Steve Austin, Ric Flair, Sting, and many, many more are all here, folks, so let's jump right in. I'm Gareth, this is What Culture Wrestling, and here are 20 wrestling gimmicks that got weird rip-offs. Number 20, Hulk Hogan, Warrior, Randy Savage, and Ric Flair.
What the hell is a Macho Warrior Rick Hogan? Bro, who needs their ass beat in front of the crowd? Ain't no fucking way.
Macho Warrior Rick Hogan. Today's indie circuit would be massive if a wrestler plodded along called Tribal Nightmare Roman Cena. Just saying. Seriously though, there was once a freelancer called Macho Warrior Rick Hogan. I kid you not. Of course, he used Macho Man Randy Savage, the Ultimate Warrior, Ric Flair, and Hulk Hogan in the one name. Rick showed up during the darkest days of the USWA, and it's a wonder that nobody backstage pulled him aside and said, yeah, you might want to rethink cosplaying 4 of the most famous WWF and WCW wrestlers ever, lest we get sued. Undeterred, Hogan plowed ahead with his plans to be the first amalgamation of Macho, Warrior, Nature Boy, and Hulkster. It's bloody weird to see old footage of the dude cutting promos next to a smiling Jerry Lawler down in Memphis. Apparently, nobody in that particular territory.
That's so ugly, dude. Like, that's so ugly. I don't like this. I don't like it. Me personally, right? If I was there, I would have to get British. Like, are you taking the piss, bro? Are you taking the piss out of me right now? What are you doing?
Territory was too worried about legal action.
Dig it, little warriors. Woo! Let me tell you something, brother.
That would have been this wrestler's defensive stance in courts. Probably. The word seriously was used earlier, but come on, let's be real. There is no way to be serious about any of this. It's so blatantly a rip-off that all you can do as a punter is just sit back and smile at the sheer cheek of it. Number 19, the Ultimate Warrior, the Renegade. Need a more official...
I did hear about the Renegade one. That's pretty ashy. That's pretty ashy. That's not right. They were like blatant with it too.
Ultimate Warrior cosplay artist after that madness. Well, WCW has you covered, baby. WCW had people covered for anything, truth be told. Need WWF light silliness that was never gonna get over? WCW. Want ultra cool NWO badassery as part of your wrestling week? Well, WCW. Want to see
Scott, your curls are beautiful. Oh my god. Look at these pretty ass curls. What the fuck? He's like a doll.
NWO badassery as part of your wrestling week? Well, WCW. Want to see someone pretend to be Warrior because the company can't get their mitts on the real deal? World Championship Wrestling! In 1995, the Renegade was born. 1 year after myself. Hulk Hogan began teasing the ultimate surprise heading into a bout versus Big Van Vader, uncensored that year. Naturally, fans got excited and thought Jim Hellwig was on his way to Atlanta. But no, this ultimate surprise was actually Renegade. It was someone who looked, moved, talked, and wrestled almost exactly like Warrior. A bargain bin version of him, if you like. The strange thing here is that WCW chiefs seem to think their fan base would be giddy about that cruel tease, then Renegade's eventual debut. It was the pro wrestling equivalent of showing someone's silhouette of a delicious chocolate bar, only to lift the lighting and reveal it to be a rather untasty bar of soap. I mean, useful for something else, but not the point. night. This kind of counterproductive swerve bit WCW right in the butt. Unsurprisingly, people were not chuffed to see the Renegade do his thing because they wanted Warrior. Then 1998 rolled around and WCW fans realized they did not want Warrior after all. It's said that some folks still wake up in a cold sweat reminiscing about Warrior versus Hogan at Halloween Havoc 98. You know what, speaking of this Warrior run, was it the worst WCW run ever? Well, if it wasn't, you let me know what was in the comments section down below. Number 18, The Rock, Juventud, the Juice Guerrera. Like Rick Hogan, you've gotta sit back in awe of the cheek on display here. Cruiserweight favorite Juventud Guerrera must have been sitting up watching a rerun of Raw one night, and that's when he spotted a young up-and-comer with serious swagger called The Rock. It was absolutely amazing to Hoovy that nobody could see what he could see. That Rock's routine was ripe for the taking over on the WCW side, with the likes of Goldberg, DDP, the NWO, and others even paying attention here. Obviously, that statement I just uttered is, yeah, laughable, but something tangible came out of Guerrera seeing Rocky's work. Juventud liked the way the WWF star referred to himself in third person, and he especially enjoyed how he'd have the live crowd in the palm of his hand simply by using the mic. Seeking a way to give himself some personality on Nitro then, Hoovy poached The Rock's banter. Yep, no, he did. That's what he did. Pre-match, he'd climb up turnbuckles in the corner, tilt his head all the way back, and yell something along the lines of, "Finally, the juice has come back to..."
I never even heard of this at all. This is a thing? I've never heard anything about this. Bro definitely must have been trying to get over, like, yo, this shit is ahead of its time. The Rock was on fire back then. This is real. Getting that crowd participation definitely goes a long fucking way with getting over. But man, they said it was very bad. No, don't do that. Don't do that. No, don't do that. No. We gotta look into this after this video. So remind me, this shit is like 30 minutes long.
Town/city here. Is the juice ploy was a blatant ripoff of The Rock? Because of course it was. Guerrera stopped short of getting a Brahma bull tattooed on his arm and asking fellow cruisers what their favorite aerial move was. Spoilers, it doesn't matter what their favorite aerial move was. Just gold. Gold, but insanely ballsy. The Rock was one of the biggest stars in wrestling by 1999, so it's a wonder that Juventud wasn't pulled up for effectively trying to turn into a WCW version of him. I would have gone with the paper or the scissors, personally. Number 17, The Undertaker, Mordecai.
Nah,
in 2004,
you said it right.
People on various wrestling message boards, pre-social media, commonly referred to Mordecai as the White Undertaker. They weren't talking about skin color, obviously. Instead, everyone was referring to his bleached hair.
Fair enough. The Undertaker fucking surviving as long as he did and being taken as seriously as he was already like a long shot. Do you think it would have ever been possible for there to be like a negative or like a fucking opposite Undertaker? I don't think so. I think they got out the last little bit of like suspension of disbelief. I don't think we would have been able to do anything with this. The Overgiver? You're on punishment. His fucking eyebrows. They want us to take the eyebrows seriously? Come on, bro.
His white outfit, and blinding vignettes that seem to position the character as a counterpoint to the Dead Man during his infernal semi-Satan days before the American Badass revamp. By 2004, Undertaker had returned to his supernatural ways, so it wasn't outlandish for fans to wonder if Mordecai would be built as one of his main adversaries. That certainly seemed to be WWE's plan, but they weren't impressed by anything they saw from the man beneath the gimmick, Kevin Thorne. Promos debuted in April, he showed up for his first match in May, then the poor sap was sent back to developmental come July. The Mordecai experiment lasted mere months before being chucked right in the bin. He was supposed to be a religious zealot who was disgusted by everything he was seeing on the roster. Vowing to cleanse it, Mordecai would have finally bumped into Taker later on. In theory, he'd have met his match, then
They probably could have made a gimmick like this work. The way he described it. Like a religious zealot guy. Clearing shit up with that. I don't know. The visuals do not help. He looks very corny.
gone on to enjoy the same sort of longevity Kane did. But sadly for Thorne, yeah, that did not happen in the end, did it? His white Undertaker persona was cut short. Now, in fairness, Kev was always a much better worker in ring than the Mordecai gimmick showed off. He didn't deserve to be judged on one match versus Scotty 2 Hotty at Judgment Day. He was clearly told to be slow and exhibit early zombie taker qualities during his matches. That didn't really translate well to the product in 2004, though. Not when Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, and others were having bangers higher up the card. Number 16, Scott Steiner, Del Rios. It's medium Papa Pump.
There's only one Scott Steiner. Don't even try to get close. How dare you? The disrespect. The disrespect. You can't even get clear. Who the fuck is this guy?
There is a fascinating backstory for Del Rios. No, not Alberto Del Rios. This was Harry Del Rios. He'd previously been known as Fantasio in the WWF, and is best known for nearly burning down.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
The gorilla position backstage when showing off his fiery magic tricks before a tryout match on Wrestling Challenge Superstars, or one of the other weekend B or C shows. Fantasio was doomed after that disaster, but Del Rios was not finished as a wrestler. He continued plying his trade on the independent scene and had a few more shots in the WWF. Then in 2002, Rios showed face to make up the numbers in a Gauntlet for the Gold Battle Royale during TNA's first weekly pay-per-view. And for some reason, he also came dressed as Scott Steiner. Yeah, that's no joke. Rios wore wraparound shades, like Scott, had bleached his short, cropped hair blonde, had identical facial hair, and had even muscled up a fair bit since performing lame magic tricks on WWF's syndicated programming in the mid-90s. During his one-off TNA gig, Harry looked every bit like a bigger version of P.T. Williams when he was hanging around with Scotty on Impact years later. Nobody really ever talks about this, probably because they can't remember Del Rios even being part of a match that also featured Ken Shamrock, Scott Hall, Jeff Jarrett, Buff Bagwell, and more assorted ragtaggers who were not on WWE's books. Rick Steiner was also in the bout, and rumor has it he actually had to ask who booked his brother backstage. I'm only kidding. Medium Papa Pump definitely should have been his nickname though, though that just makes me want a Nando's for some reason. Number 15, Steve Austin, Shark Boy. People were so charmed by Shark Boy's uniqueness in the
This man Shark Boy's a genius, by the way. Get them royalties, King. Also, my offer still stands if you need a ghost companion. Hi.
Late 1990s, that he started to show up on WCW programming during the promotion's Death Rattle days, pre-WWF buyout. He earned a cult-like following for having a memorable look and being tidy between the ropes, and that led to further success during TNA's early run. Shark Boy was on top of the world, or the water, or whatever. Then he turned into a sharky version of Stone Cold Steve Austin. How's that for a left turn? This didn't happen without cause. In 2008, Shark Boy had recovered from several attacks that left him in a kayfabed coma.
Look at this room they have this man in. Look at this fucking room, dude. What the fuck? What the fuck?
2008, Shark Boy had recovered from several attacks that left him in a kayfabed coma. When he snapped out of that, he was stone cold. Shark Boy even wore an Austin-style vest and vowed to be Shark Boy 20.
Yo, the skull on the vest has a fin? That's genius. This is so absurd. Like, can we really even say it's like copyright infringement? Yeah. It's so weird and off base. I love it. It's so dumb, but I love it. Perfect way to like swing your character around like 180 too, right? At least like, yo, fuck it. He's Austin now. No sense. I love it.
24/7, a cute play on Austin 316, of course. This actually got over, but it remains one of the most bizarre tributes in wrestling history. Instead of beer, Sharky downed cans of clam juice to keep
Bro, like, I'm very impressed at how deep this stupid shit is going. I'm very impressed, dude.
Keep his fighting spirit meter high. Troll back through the TNA archives and you'll see that Stone Cold Shark Boy, teaming with other misfits like Curryman and Super Eric Young, actually got some cool reactions from fans in attendance for Impact tapings. Crowds were well into this silliness. Look, the run was never gonna last, but it was entertaining, and that's what wrestling's all about, right? Who could have known that an independent worker who only broke out via sudden media attention on TV shows like 2020, Shark Week, and MTV's True Life would go on to piggyback the biggest star in the industry a decade after Austin's peak? No one, that's who. Number 14, Razor Ramon and Diesel. Fake Razor and Diesel. Right, imagine John Cena had been far too busy in Hollywood to commit to a year-long retirement tour. So Triple H and the creative gang then decided to sign ex-TNA man Josh Alexander, slap Cena's outfit on him, and claim it was the same guy. Nobody would buy that, right? And the audience would be insulted that WWE thought they were thick. Now just picture how people felt in 1996 when Razor Ramon and Diesel returned.
That's crazy. It's a fucking yo, that's crazy. Yo, the side by side is critical, bro. Nah, bro. Even the fucking curl in the hair on the fake razor is like pathetic. Yeah, cool. Should be a couple, not with it. All right, Brocken. Sure thing, bro.
Rick Bogner and Glenn Jacobs, the future Kane, dressed up as Scott Hall and Kevin Nash to become the fake Razor and Diesel. This outrageously stupid move made a mockery of the WWF product. Meanwhile, Hall and Nash were getting over as part of the super cool NWO in WCW, and they had to be laughing hard at Vince McMahon for thinking this cosplay knockoff stuff was a sensible plan. Yes, WWE ripped
Hey, Diesel, fix my teeth. There was all your
themselves off by even trying this chaos. It was so dumb. Poor Jim Ross had to be the one pretending that Razor and Diesel were the real deal. He'd vowed during several heel promos to bring the fan faves back to the World Wrestling Federation. And JR looked every bit the idiot for alleging that these goofs were somehow superior to those with quote-unquote artificial body parts over on the other channel. Younger? Sure. Better? Not a chance.
Yes,
the
sir.
WWF realized the error of their ways by early 1997, and the horror show was over for fake Razor and Diesel. But the Fed actually charged people real money to watch them wrestle for the tag belts on pay-per-view at In Your House 12 first. Refund requests should have been rife. Number 13, Razor Ramon, Razor Revolution. Say hello to the baddest guy.
What the fuck? What the fuck am I looking at? Who the fuck is that guy? You do nothing. Who is that?
Canadian independent worker Scott Davidson decided in 2007 that enough was enough. It was time for a change. No, he didn't become an Owen Hart knockoff. He became a Razor Ramon one instead. Renaming himself Razor Revolution was one thing, but Davidson literally began dressing up in the same razor trunks that Scott Hall once wore, and he even had the teased curl dangling down his forehead.
Bro.
And the revolution is still going strong. Razor even caught the eye of future WWE stars like Kevin Owens. KO has spoken about bumping into Revolution on the indie scene before reaching the big time, and even he's staggered by the sheer balls it took to mimic such a famous character in such a Wish.com way. Surely Razor would be more at
I could have
home
sworn
on
that was Will Sasso.
WWF/WWE tribute shows, no? That's just not how he rolls, though. Mr. Evolution positions himself as a serious act who works for groups like Wrestling in Canada, QCW, Canadian Professional Wrestling International, skill, and more. Even goes so far as to use the Razor's Edge as a finisher. I mean, come on! No Revolution match is complete without a fall-away slam or two either. It's pretty crazy that someone is so upfront and honest about being a knockoff, crappier version of Razor Ramon. I think Owen should bring him in for a one-off WWE match. Okay, maybe not. Number 12, Kevin Nash, Scott Nash.
What? Why are we just fucking I think Razor and Diesel just getting fucking cloned out here. What the fuck? I didn't know this was happening. This is a fucking epidemic, bro.
Hey, say what you want about Razor Revolution, but at least he had the decency to wait until Scott Hall was no longer using his iconic character to give it a bash on the independents. Then there's Scott Nash. He was some journeyman pro who decided that dressing up as a Halloween version of Kevin Nash was the way to go. In the year 2000,
What the fuck am I looking at, bro? What is that? No, man. No. We're not doing whatever this is. Whatever any of this is, we don't need.
you know, when Big Sexy was still actively wrestling on WCW television, the mind, it boggles. Scott debuted as part of the WXO promotion in Florida right at the turn of the new millennium. What did WXO's brain trust have in store for fans buying tickets to their first few events? Some dude in Kevin Nash's NWO Wolfpack gear wearing the least convincing blonde wig you will ever see. Now, they even carefully shot his entrance from above so you couldn't see Nash's face as he walked down the ramp. It would be utterly hilarious if that was a deliberate scheme by promoters, hoping anyone tuning in would think the ex-WWF champion had strolled onto their product, despite being under WCW contract. This is as hokey and bottom of the barrel as you're likely to get from a wrestling show, my friend. It's the squint and pretend you're watching the real thing approach in overdrive, and it's downright funny. Look at Nash's face in the screenshot right here. Even he's aware that this is the silliest thing going. Do you really need more? Well, how about the fact Scott wrestled former Demolition Man Barry Darsow in a match that went less than 2 minutes? Perhaps Barry morphed into his Repo Man gimmick and stole Nash's wig so fans would never have to see it again. Perhaps. I mean, Miller would love that.
Simon Miller spotted that 70s guy? What? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Number 11, Dude Love, that 70s guy, Mike Awesome. Okay, so everyone knows Mike Awesome's weird That 70s Guy experiment WCW pulled in 2000 was an attempt to hop on the hype train for That 70s Show. The TV series was a hot property at the time, so fair enough. But something else stood out about Mike's promos and overall presentation. He was like a cheaper, nastier version of Mick Foley's Dude Love success story over in the WWF. Vince Russo had played a part in making that a reality and bringing Mick's vision to life, and the former WWF writer needed some inspiration for a thoroughly dire WCW run. Therefore, in September 2000, after being saddled with another terrible gimmick, the Fat Chick Thriller, oh man, Awesome turned up in pastel-colored suits and had a big 70s-style bus behind him at points. Remind you of anyone? The bus thing, not the suits. Although Dude Love also sported some garish color schemes to sell his retro vibes. Mike's Lava Lounge talk show segment seemed to borrow some of the banter Foley had used too. Yeah, the more one stops to think about it, the more it becomes possible that Russo was just trying to do with Awesome what the WWF had done with Mick. Toss in a little Austin Powers for good measure and hope for the best, right? Yeah, baby. This gimmick lasted mere months before Mike joined Team Canada alongside Lance Storm, Elix Skipper, and pals. And if you're having fun with this rip-off filled list, then hit that subscribe button below and you'll get even more What Culture Wrestling lists each and every day. And even more videos, we got all the stuff. Number 10, Road Dogg Buzzkill. Announcers like Tony Schiavone welcomed fans to WCW's New Year on the 3rd of January 2000 Nitro. Big things were promised, and all the usual pyro and fanfare seemed to suggest things could get back on track for an ailing company. Then, Brad Armstrong walked through the curtain dressed as
Oh, this shit with the fucking boneless cornrows, the boneless braids. Yeah, nah, take those shits out. Yeah, get those diet braids out of here, man. That we can't have you running around with those. That's I'm not even. It's not even my place to speak on it, but I feel like you're gonna upset somebody with those. Let's undo those. We gotta try those again. You know, we shouldn't let you out from the back with those dangling from under there, under your bandana. No, okay. I'm thinking he does.
A cheap rip-off of his own brother's Road Dogg gimmick over in the WWF, and all hope was lost. Buzzkill was Road
See, I
Dogg
tried to
Light.
tell him. Look at them boneless braids, bro. Look at that. Whoa.
Diet Dog. Also, encouraging viewers tuning into that first episode of the new year to think about what's happening over on Raw with overacts
Make your
like
money,
the New
bro.
Age
You got it,
Outlaws is sure something. No wonder WCW went down the pan with warped thinking like this. At times, it was like they were actively trying to come across as second-rate. Starting the first Nitro of 2000 off with something absolutely massive would have been the way to go here. Set the tone. Sadly, the only tone WCW set here was reminding fans that the WWF's product had their own flagship licked. Armstrong, who was a solid hand in ring and a veteran of the biz, should have known better than to play a totally uncool, carny copy of his sibling's character too. That was, well, it was very daft. Buzzkill appeared to be an inside joke designed to poke fun at Road Dogg. Yeah, it was light-hearted, but light-hearted isn't always an excuse. Meanwhile, Raw kicked off with The Rock coming out to a big pop for a promo opposite Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. The difference in directness between both companies at the time was pretty incredible. Number 9, Jim Ross, Oklahoma.
You had the Road Dogg hand, but I didn't fuck with this. Every time I see this, I get mad. This was like hella mean-spirited. I don't like this. Whoever did this could suck a dick.
Up until now have either been light-hearted or accidentally funny, but this one was plain mean-spirited and shouldn't have ever happened for multiple reasons. In 1999, Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara were looking to make their stamp on WCW and prove to the world that they were creative geniuses the WWF would miss. And how did they do that? By making light of some serious health problems Fed favorite Jim Ross was going through. Lovely. The Oklahoma character had zero redeeming qualities. Ferrara dressed like JR, screwed up his face, and spoke in an over-the-top southern drawl. Now, the cosplaying was one thing, but poking fun at Jim suffering Bell's palsy attacks was definitely a step too far. Needling anything wrestling-related would have been acceptable. Counterproductive and another small-time move by WCW, yes, but acceptable. But getting personal with somebody who didn't deserve to have his health ridiculed on national TV? No. Shame on them. Dick move that. It's actually surprising that Ross's longtime friend, Dr. Death Steve Williams, agreed to go along with all of this and appear alongside Oklahoma. Either he wasn't on good terms with Jim at the time, stemming from his WWF release, or Williams just didn't think it was that bad. It is not too sensitive to say that this was that bad. OK was a rip-off gimmick with insulting overtones nobody on planet Earth needed. Jim Ross was an announcer, not a threat to WCW, and did not need this bullying in his life. Oklahoma is still one of the worst things that wrestling has ever put out. Number 8, China, Asia. A small-time mentality and rampant backstage disorganization held WCW back time and time again. For example, the time bodybuilder Christy Wolf changed her name to Asia. Why Asia? Well, get this. Asia is a continent. Meanwhile, China is a country. Over in the WWF at the time, China had been earning rave reviews for her work as part of D-Generation X and had blossomed into a standalone star. Looking to mimic that, but better apparently, WCW positioned Wolf as superior to China. Asia is bigger than China. Get it? Oh boy. No one was shocked that this didn't work out. China wasn't a Kurt Angle inside the ring, but she was 1 million.
Damn, China? Wicked, but this shot is crazy. That shows the physique off perfectly. Wow. Asia looking alright though. Can't lie, she looking alright.
times the worker Asia was. In fairness, Wolf was coming from a bodybuilding background and probably hadn't been trained properly before somebody looked at her physique and yelled, "Put her on TV now!" Asia was rushed into things as part of a Ric Flair storyline in early 1999, then became part of the Revolution faction later that same year. She never really showed an aptitude for the biz at all and was released by the summer of 2000 following various alliances and storylines that went nowhere. It was bold as brass of WCW to try the Asia thing in the first place. They knew that fans would make the comparison with China. Hell, WCW wanted them to. What they didn't want, though, was for those same people to realize that the WWF's original was infinitely better. But they did because she was. Number 7, Hulk Hogan, Randy Hogan. Randy Hogan. That's it, that's the entry. Okay, not really, but sometimes a
Stop that. Dude, he looks so wholesome. This is someone's dad. This is someone's dad, dude. Fell for the door. He's just standing there in the living room like, glad to see you, son. If that's someone's dad.
Hogan. That's it, that's the entry. Okay, not really, but sometimes a picture really does say 1,000 words. In Randy Hogan's case, it's screaming at you right now. Check the smug look on Randy's face before one of
He looks so happy. We gotta protect him, man. I hope Randy's still with us. Aww.
many job matches in WCW. He's fully aware what everyone's thinking. Hey, that guy's kinda sorta almost trying his hardest to look like Hulk Hogan. Yes, he was. But this was the car boot / garage sale action figure version of an authentic Hasbro toy. The saw that gets chewed up by a dog. Randy was another journeyman who one day decided, screw it. He grew out a Hulkster-esque mustache, which pleased the NWA in the 80s because they could cast him as a jobber and take a dig at the WWF's biggest star. Then, when Randy signed on for some work in the Federation, they told him to shave the facial fluff off and become Scott Colton. The dream was over.
Yo, that's a whole different guy. What the fuck? What the fuck? Don't protect him anymore. He's not Randy Hogan. He's an imposter. He's a fake.
Brother, at least for now. This is sort of like AEW debuting a wrestler called Randy Rhodes in 2025 and having him bleach his hair blonde. Everyone would draw immediate comparisons to WWE champion Cody Rhodes, but Excalibur and the commentary team would just pretend they didn't have a clue what people were talking about. Cody? No, that's Randy! It's just a coincidence that he loses all the time. He's having a nightmare. Randy's last WCW match happened in April 1994. Yep, mere months before the real Hogan signed on the dotted line and changed company business for the better come Bash at the Beach. Even Eric Bischoff knew he couldn't continue using our Randall after Hulk showed up. Number 6, Dusty Rhodes, Dirty Rhodes. Roger Smith once...
Yo, Dirty Rhodes is... That's childish. Somebody's childish, man. That's fucked up. Where's Cody at? We gotta find them. Come on, Cody, we gonna find Dirty Rhodes for you. This ain't right. Dirty Rhodes is childish.
Wrestled under a mask as one of the assassins alongside longtime tagger Jody Hamilton in the 1980s. When that run ended and somebody else took his place, Smith reached for the stars by morphing into a cheap knockoff of American Dream Dusty Rhodes. Looking for a clever play on words, Roger plumped for Dirty Rhodes. Well, give them a good sweep then. Sorry, couldn't resist. I am awful. Dirty Rhodes came about because numerous wrestlers remarked that Smith resembled Dusty and shared some of his mannerisms. Capitalizing on that look, Smith decided he could get at least a few bookings if people thought he was related to Rhodes. I mean, he wasn't, but this was pro wrestling, and facts rarely get in the way of a good story, do they? Dirty mimicked Dusty's famous promo style and worked a similar way inside the ring to boot. That actually led to some success for old Roger in groups like Stampede and the USWA towards the end of the 80s. Apparently, there was a real zest amongst some markets for a Rhodes ripoff. In a clever move, as you can see right here, Roger also shielded his eyes with a cowboy hat during some promos. That added to the suspension of disbelief, especially when that masking was
Said
twinned with a
filthy
convincing
roads.
dusty impression. An ambitious bit of self-promotion from a regional worker, to say the least. Number 5, Ric Flair, Nature Boy Paul Lee. Big pop if Paul Lee shouts "whoa" instead of Ric Flair's trademark "woo" whenever he wrestles. Now, in fairness, some would point out that Rick nabbed the Nature Boy gimmick from Buddy Rogers originally, so he can't lay claim to being the first ever anyway. Therefore, maybe Paul is actually onto something here. Somebody can steal Nature Boy from him soon enough. Maybe I will. I just need that hair to grow back. Lee's act is something special from a so bad it's good perspective. He's dedicated to the Flair cause, shall we say. Paul dons rickish robes, walks to the ring like he's about to headline the Chi-Town Rumble versus Ricky Steamboat in 1989, and also uses familiar spots like the Flair Flop, Figure 4 Leg Lock, and more. Bonus points go to Lee for combining Flair's robes with the sunglasses he'd occasionally wear when suited and booted on old NWA episodes during the mid.
Not for nothing, Nikki. I was gonna say, one of these pictures kind of look like
and also uses for
Loki. I don't know if it was this. He was doing his lips or something. Industrial man instead of nature boy. I like that a lot.
wear when suited and booted on old NWA episodes during the mid-80s. Without being cruel, those shades don't look nearly as expensive as the lavish ones Rick used to rock during his prime. Hey, it's not a problem. I mean, some wannabe babyface hero on an indie spot show would only snatch them off Paul's face and stomp on them anyway. That's just what happens. Not content to stop at cosplaying Flair, Paul has also been Jackie Fargo Jr. Perhaps he can vanish for a while, then come back as Greg Valentine too whilst he's at it. Better not give him more ideas though, right? Number 4, Sting, the Hornet.
The Hornet? Oh, you're gross. The Hornet instead of Sting. It's kind of genius, but also ew. Right, like ew. I can't give you too much prop for that, but that's pretty clever.
What sounds more dangerous and exciting, Sting or the Hornet? The latter insect defo still stings when it feels threatened by your presence, but it rarely goes on the attack just for no reason. That doesn't sound very appealing for a pro wrestling character, does it? Look out for the Hornet! Just don't put him in a headlock first, and he'll never move from the corner of the ring. Riveting stuff. Ron Oakes was the wrestler behind this Sting ripoff in the USWA, and on reflection, he should have probably picked Scorpion as his ring name, or something similar. But maybe that would have led to legal action from the WCW star, who knows? It's 100 times better than the Hornet, though. Oakes used that name in Memphis for a spell, but he usually had to go by his real name when working enhancement matches elsewhere for bigger promotions. The Hornet gimmick was defo cartoonish in a bad way, but Oakes had a decent physique on him. He was in impressive shape compared to most who rolled through the Memphis territory at that time, but he couldn't play a discount store stinger for too long before it caused some trouble. That's assuming Sting and or WCW's legal department even knew this bug existed. It is hard to get a good picture or footage that isn't grainy for obvious reasons. USWA content pops up on YouTube here or there, but it always looks like it was filmed on the world's worst flip phone from 2005. Stinger had absolutely nothing to worry about, folks. The Hornet was not going to fly in and steal his spot at any point. Number 3, Gold Dust, Blue Dust. The whole period between 1997 and 1999 was a weird.
Who the fuck? Got bigger titties than me. That's a joke. It's a joke.
Time to be a Gold Dust fan. Dustin Rhodes shocked the world by debuting the gimmick in 1995, and some loved its uniqueness, whereas others hated the character and rejected it outright. Goldust was successful for the WWF despite splitting opinion, but then things got a little too shock value for shock value's sake, with the artist formerly known as Run onwards. In 99, the Blue Meanie was drafted in from ECW to reprise one of his earlier roles on lower tier extreme shows.
He was definitely bugging with that one.
That meant, you guessed it, becoming a completely blue version of Dustin's.
Looks like a fucking Smurf, dude. What the hell? I kinda like it.
guys instead of gold. This led to a singles match between the pair at St. Valentine's Day Massacre in February. Goldust won that in just a few minutes, then Meanie started calling him Mommy. Wait, what? In storyline, the insinuation was that Goldust had taken Blue Dust under his wing on one condition. Meanie had to do everything that Dustin asked of him without question. Being brutally honest about it, the whole mommy thing wasn't that outlandish during the wild Attitude Era period anyway. Goldust had been doing far more controversial things than this on Raw since late 1997. Blue Dust was a quasi-doppelganger attempt long before Dustin's brother Cody went under the makeup as Stardust. It existed expressly for one pay-per-view match, and that was it. But at least it got Meanie's foot in the door with the WWF. That would not be the end of wrestling's obsession with the color blue, though. Number 2, Kane. Blue Kane. Wrestling's 2023 was a trip, and Blue Kane was a major reason why. Suddenly, people started hearing rumblings of a big blue machine who was showing up on independent cards in the UK. It was all played for giggles, and it actually worked. Blue Kane went from indie show darling for those in attendance to viral superstar online thanks to social media. He blew up in a big way. Thank you. But that's when WWE's lawyers took notice of what was happening and shut it down. They sent Blue Kane several cease and desist letters threatening him with the courts if he didn't stop immediately. However, rather than give up, Blue Kane changed into Blue Pain, which is his current name. He also wrestles as Memes for the record. All of this was incredibly smart because it drummed up some instant buzz for the guy behind the blue mask, and wrestlers like Matt Cardona were tripping over themselves to get a match with this Glenn Jacobs parody. Hey, perhaps Blue Kane should have changed course to become an evil dentist or a Diesel tribute act instead. Those who remember Jacobs having those gimmicks before he became Kane and changed his career for the better would have...
There's a gay king? Why were there two of you ready to just like, oh, by the way, Gain? Like, what? This Gain person is real? What the fuck? What the hell?
Have no doubt got a kick out of it. Blue Kane is no more, but Blue Pain and Memes still wrestle on the independent circuit for companies like TNT and Game Changer Wrestling. Memes even sneaked onto the PWI Top 500 for 2024, and that definitely shows the true power of fan support on social apps. There's still a market for this gimmick in 2025, and that is just totally bizarre, but in the best way. And number 1, literally everyone, WWF tribute shows. Right, sorry for laughing, but just look at that poster. Look at it. It is so wonderful.
What the hell? Unofficial People's Champion. Rock Steadfast. What the hell?
In your face. Where to even start? The Great American Bash is a WCW nod. Someone is dressed up as The Rock. Kane is there, but not Blue Kane. An unconvincing Undertaker is staring right through your soul. And X-Pac looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. You've got to love the minds who come up with this stuff and actually charge money for it. Now, that's not me throwing stones, by the way. These shows always seem like tremendous fun. For example, on a small 2001 spot show in a tiny Scottish seaside town, Jamie Kennedy, the wonderful dude who wrote the article for this very list that you're watching, saw the same knackered indie wrestler work as Chris Jericho, Edge, Shawn Michaels, Christian, and Kane all on the same card. He hurt his leg during a ladder match as HBK, then hobbled out with a bandage over his Kane Halloween costume for the main event's Royal Rumble. It's just excellent. However, it is a bit wild that promoters market shows like this and make a living from them. They must be clued up on their legal loopholes, and these spot shows do entertain hundreds of kids at a time. In essence, they're largely harmless if it's made clear that everything's parody. Unofficial People's Champion is ace banter too. Nobody is safe from these tribute nights. Seeing some scrawny indie guy looking for a break as he dresses up like John Cena is always going to get rave reviews here. They can deal with the legal fallout. We're just here for the foam fingers and cheap Rey Mysterio masks. 619, 619. Now, if you've had a blast looking at these 20 wrestling gimmicks that got weird ripoffs, then go and check out this 10 absurd wrestling gimmicks that should have bombed but didn't want to. Oh, the...
That's a pretty cool video. I want to see that one as well. Yeah, not gonna lie, there are a lot more Razor Ramon and the fucking Kevin Nash clones than I thought. I didn't know they were that big. I'm not from that era, unfortunately. So, yikes. But yeah, when it comes to like stealing gimmicks, you gotta be sauce. You gotta move a little bit more cat. I know back in the day though, they were definitely sending shots at each other on the shows, the promotions, right? So it's kind of funny. Favorite one from this list though, easily gonna be Shark Boy. That was adorable. I liked it. It was really cool. If you want to check out the video and support the original creator, go ahead and click that top link in the description. If you want to check out content with me and the flock here on Twitch and react to it live with us, use that bottom link. There's a Patreon with bonus content that you don't have to pay for. It's free tier on there. You get all the content I can't upload to YouTube. It's spicy, but there are no titties. All right, bye. Thank you so much to those of you that have made it over to the Patreon. I appreciate you.
I'm still hungry.